Tēnā koutou katoa, ki mana whenua tēnā koutou. Just before I start, I'd like to acknowledge Bruce, your chair and board, and Karen, of course, your chief executive. I'd also actually like to acknowledge all the people in the background who are helping making this work, because I know there's a heck of a lot of work in creating a conference such as this, which is the biggest conference of its type in the country. As part of my presentation, one of the things I was going to ask you as a rhetorical question is, what's next for you? You've done really well with Manuka, and we know things are tough. I acknowledge the question here. But I was going to ask, what's next? What's around the corner? Who's looking forward? It's actually evident to me that through conferences such as this and the fantastic range of international speakers you've got, that this is exactly what you're doing. And you're having some hard discussions and hard debate, but that's really important. That's really important for the sector to continue doing that. So I just want to reflect back. The Minister did apologise. He wasn't able to be at this meeting to present to you directly, but he did provide his recorded presentation. Just reflecting back on some of the things he said, it's very clear to all of us that this sector is very important to him and to this government. And it's for a number of reasons. There is something like $350 million worth of exports, so that's valuable, but that's only a small part of the picture. The way this industry operates, of course, it produces a lot of benefit to the agricultural sector. It produces a lot of employment, and it brings wealth into regional communities and so on. So that's a much broader value that it contributes to New Zealand rather than just that export earning. It's something that also we see as having a lot of potential as well. But of course, with all that potential and all that value that has grown very significantly over the last few years, the question we ask ourselves is how do we protect that? How do we ensure that the sector keeps being robust? And as I said before, what's next? Some of that I'm going to talk about today. MPI does have a role there. Obviously, it needs to be a sector-led thing, though. So what I'm going to cover today, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the biosecurity work we're doing in the area of bee health. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do in food regulation, which is my particular area. And I'm going to talk about just a couple of what we call ease of business initiatives. Now, those are inverted commas. There's not meant to be any irony in that. That's a term we use for looking at ourselves and seeing if there are things we can do to make things easier for you. And then finally, I'm going to pinch a slide that I used last year to talk about exporting, and I'm going to go back to some of the points I made to you last year about the importance of the integrity of our system and our reputation internationally. So firstly, as I said before, bee health is important. I just want to briefly go through three key initiatives we've got there in our biosecurity portfolio. So our bee pathogen program, the National Apiculture Surveillance Program, and our colony loss survey. So you'll know about the bee pathogen program. This is a very large bee health study done in New Zealand. There's something like 130,000 bees that are in our collection and 31,000 data points. So those bees are now archived in our freezers, which is great because we can use them for further study as well. There's a heck of a lot of data that our guys are working through at the moment to get a good picture of the incidence and prevalence of existing pathogens in New Zealand at the moment. So as I said, there's a lot of data to work through. I don't have anything to report at the moment, but in the next 2 or 3 months, we hope that we'll be able to report that back to you. And the guys have asked me to thank you for your participation. I think there was something like 60 apiaries and I think it was 9 beekeepers who specifically helped us with this. This is not the kind of thing we can do on our own. It needs to be done with you, so your help was really, really valuable there. The National Apiculture Surveillance Program. So this is a different program. This is not looking for existing pests. This is looking for things that we really don't want to have here. So a good example would be the small hive beetle. That's a key focus of the program. But we're looking at also five other pests and diseases. Now, I have nothing to report on this one, but that's a good thing. So in this case, no news is good news. This is an ongoing surveillance program you'll be aware of. The colony loss survey, you will remember that this was reported, I think, in April this year. It quantifies winter colony loss, online opt-in survey, and this allows us to compare what's happening in New Zealand with what's happening internationally. Overall, New Zealand looks not too bad. I think our average rate is about 10.2% loss. Of course, there are some national variation there that you're aware of. And New Zealand has very high participation rates. And again, the team's asked me to thank you guys for your participation in that, because it's really important. The more data we get, the more robust that survey is. It's a slightly guarded good result. So while that 10.2% loss is better than most countries around the world, it's slowly getting worse in New Zealand. So things are not improving in that area. So we do just need to be a little bit careful about that and keep our eye on the ball. Again, the guys have asked me to thank you for your participation, and note that this program is, this questionnaire is in the field at the moment. So please do participate in it, and we anticipate reporting results probably about the same time, so April next year. So now I want to change tack a little bit and talk about the area I'm responsible for. This is our food legislation and safe food in New Zealand. So last year I talked about the various bits of food legislation that apply to you. The two main ones are our Animal Products Act, but also our Food Act. And the Food Act has undergone a massive change. We've had a new Food Act was passed in 2014, but came into effect in 2016. And then there was a 3-year transition. There was something like 31,000 businesses that had to change their focus. It was a really different way of looking at food safety in New Zealand. Now, not all of you will be operating under that. Some of you will be under the Animal Products Act, but for those of you typically selling domestically, you may well be under this new legal framework. It was a massive exercise. Like I said, 31,000 businesses, but we talked directly to 16,500 businesses. Because it was such a massive exercise, we were scratching our heads a little bit and thinking, how do we communicate with all those tens of thousands of businesses, explaining that we're moving from an inspection-based model where someone will come in every year or so and have a look, check your floors, walls and ceilings, to one where actually the food operator, they are legally responsible for ensuring that food is safe and demonstrating that it's safe. It took us some time, but we realised that actually we were never going to be able to do that. So what the team has done is flip it on its head and go out and engage directly with a whole lot of businesses. And as I said, there were more than 16,000. Understand how things were going from their perspective, how businesses were running their operations, and then trying to shape the law, design the law in a way that actually worked alongside what they were already doing. So this is a really different focus for us. The outputs of that were, as you can see on the slide, we've got a whole lot of templates that work for different sectors. Less text, so not putting out lots and lots of pages of documents, but more graphic design, and lots of videos and things like that, and maybe more intuitive. It's a very Wellington thing, of course, writing lots of documents, but understanding that people out there in the real world don't have a lot of time for that sort of thing. So we did try and turn this around and make things that are more useful for you. So this ease of business focus, there are just a couple of things that are underway at the moment that we think might be relevant for you. Firstly, there are a range of templates and guidance material that applies directly to the bee sector. So we're reviewing that at the moment, and the guys have been doing a lot of work and working with a whole lot of you, so you might be familiar with this, and we look at publishing that in the near future. So this is taking that similar customer-centric approach, turning things on its head and trying to design guidance and templates and things that will actually work for you. We've got another tool that's under development as well, which is for online registration. So the way this works is that people can go online onto our website, describe what their food business is, and that tool will pretty much design a framework for you that should be able to go to your registration authority and get registered. And we anticipate that that'll speed up registration from potentially months and thousands of dollars to less than 20 days. It's not launched yet formally, and there are some things we need to work through, but we anticipate that in future that'll work across all the food sectors and potentially all food businesses, particularly for those people who are might be looking at working across different sectors. So I don't know if you've got maybe a bee operation, but you want to have a cafe as well at the same time and integrate those. Rather than trying to design different programs, this tool should help you integrate that in one go. So this is almost my last slide. I just want to finish off with one that I used last year. We export to 190 countries. That's 80% of our primary products. It's something like, I don't know, $35 billion worth of food exports. So this is a massive part of our economy. New Zealand's a small country. We don't have a whole lot of leverage. The leverage we do have is trust and integrity in our system. So that is critical to us. So we set laws, we implement them, and we enforce them. And that's part of our value proposition for our exports. It's also really important that you and the industry adhere to those rules. People who are outside those rules make it harder for everyone, and that's something we can't tolerate. Just to make it, there is an export regulatory advice service. These are our team of people who will help you navigate your way through. I'm not pretending it's easy, but we are seeking to make it clearer for you to navigate your way through all these rules. So I do recommend you go and have a chat to our guys on the stand if you want to talk through that in more detail. So that's it from me, thank you very much, but I'll be happy to take questions if I'm allowed. Betty? I think Betty's going to kick me off stage.
Unfortunately, we are running quite a bit behind. So, thank you, Paul. We'll take one question. Okay. One question only, please, and then we will have to move on to the next speaker.
So, can I say I'll be waiting at our stand. I'll be happy to talk to anyone who wants to talk to me afterwards.
Just a point of quick clarification from something you said. This is possibly not on. Oh, it's on now. The colony loss survey, you've funded it for the last 4 years, and I thank you for that. Are you funding it for the 2019 year, 20 year? I wasn't quite sure what you said. It's underway at the moment, so the current survey is underway and that'll be reported next year. So the 2019 one is happening right now. Okay, good, thanks.
Can I maybe talk to Pam?
Well, we have a good relationship with MPI, but I think there needs to be an opportunity for this room to tell you what we're feeling. And by saying time restrictions, because many people in this room feel very let down by the standard of the Mānuka standard.
Unfortunately, we do have other speakers. We have a program that is in place, and we do need to keep to that. You have the opportunity to engage at the booths. I do realize that you do want an open forum, but this is not where we have that availability.
Well, MPI need to make that forum available, and they need to do it soon.
Thank you.
Okay.